You are now watching Juke Boys Sports Show. Hey, I got it right.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's go.
There we go.
But yeah, we in the building, man, at Fitboxer Studio having some technical difficulties. But yeah, we gonna rock, man. Anyway, we gonna figure it out, get it going.
Rock the mic like Beanie Siegel and Freeway.
Right. But yeah, just let's shout out to our sponsors, Fitboxer Studio. If you want to book a session, a podcast, a photography session, you need to open space, you want to do yoga classes, you want to shoot a music video, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. But right now, we're going to jump right into it, bro. We did this a few times. I know. I'm sure you have practice on how you're going to get us your who has the most to prove.
All right. So the NBA player in this upcoming playoffs, right, for me, that has the most to prove is Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks. The reason why I believe Giannis Antetokounmpo has the most to prove is because he's already won everything in the NBA possible except a championship, right? He's already been a two-time league MVP, a defensive player of the year, and he's also been talked about as possibly being in the GOAT conversation, right? Michael Jordan himself, it took him 7 years in the league before he won his first NBA championship. Giannis is a great player. He makes a great impact on his team, but when he gets to the playoffs, there is a blueprint on how to stop him, which was displayed in the 2019 Eastern Conference Finals by the Toronto Raptors, led by Kawhi Leonard. So that blueprint for our viewers is they built a wall to stop Giannis. So you're like, why would you build a wall to stop Giannis? Well, obviously, no one individual defender can single-handedly shut him down. You can neutralize him, but Giannis excels when he attacks the paint, when he can put that pressure on the opposing defense and then, kick out to guys, et cetera, like that.
True.
So when I'm looking at a guy like Giannis, they built that wall so it forces him to rely on a weakness. His weakness is three-point shooting. He's not a knockdown three-point shooter. And quite frankly, I don't think he'll ever be a knockdown three-point shooter.
No.
I actually kind of blame Jason Kidd as well for hindering his development in that area, right? And because his shooting stroke was different initially when he first entered the league, when Jason Kidd was still a coach, opposed to, now. But then you see what happened with the playoffs in 2020, just last year. The Miami Heat played a zone defense on him, and they had an athletic defender, big, and Bam Adebayo, right, who had the strength and the agility to meet Giannis at the rim. So it's like, okay, Giannis, well, you can't shoot the three, so now, like, what are you going to do? So you need to actually improve your post game, add a Rasheed Wallace-esque fadeaway, post fadeaway. Add some different moves where you can force a double, a hard double, and they added a someone who can create his own shot on the perimeter, and Drew Holiday. He can shoot the three from the perimeter. He can cook, break down the defense, So now that zone's not always going to be effective, right? So Giannis has the most to prove for me. If he can actually beat the Miami Heat in this upcoming first-round matchup, that's going to be a telltale sign. Now, then to end, my closing thoughts on that situation is, he might wind up playing the Brooklyn Nets later on in the playoffs. I think the return of James Harden is going to be what actually halts him from ultimately reaching the NBA Finals berth. But I just feel like if he can actually prove that he's improved his shooting prowess in some degree, then that would be big. But Giannis, for me, has the most to prove because he's pretty much done everything but that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, right. I definitely agree with you with him having something to prove. Just for the sake of conversation, I am going to lean in other directions. I actually think I'm actually going to stay in the East and go and think that Joel and Ben.
Ooh, so you going a double.
It's a double. Them two together have
we can
a
do
lot
that?
have a
No, it's good. Anyway.
Them two together have a lot to prove, man. Because Joel Embiid, honestly, for me, if he was able to play 10 more games, I would feel comfortable saying that he was the MVP.
Okay.
But, the amount of games that he missed, as well as that's really solely it, is the only reason I don't have him as the my MVP. But the success that they've and failures that they've had in the playoffs, like the Toronto Raptors, they took them to 7 games.
Yeah.
It took a wild Kawhi Leonard shot in order for them to lose that game.
And some people think he actually traveled.
Right.
And that's my boy.
Hey,
but
when he caught that ball and turned around,
right,
it was on his way to
1,
the corner.
2, 3.
That 1, 2, 3 dribble, like fam, like you got to dribble. You can't just look like a little kid out there.
Exactly. But they do say that the wins in the playoffs, there's a little bit of luck, the basketball gods. So, but anyway,
true.
Yeah.
And so like with that, I think Ben Simmons' inability to even attempt a three. I'm curious to see how far they could get.
Right.
Like we've seen Ben Simmons, and we'll have this conversation later as far as where they rank as far as their position and in the league, but their shortcomings in the playoffs. Like it's
real.
Are you guys superstars or are you just stars? And it's like at this point they were both number 1 draft picks. Both have high ceilings. Both can be dominant at times.
Yeah.
Because like we see when Joel was out, what did Ben do to Rudy Gobert, who a lot of people are trying to argue that he's defensive player of the year, where he hit him for like 42 and 15 or something like that, with no existence of a jump shot.
Yeah, we get on Rudy, but we just keep it real.
Right.
You know?
Right. Like I don't have anything against Rudy. Like go do your thing. I'm get your $200 million
get that
contract for that 15 and 13 that you out here.
Scramble up that bread.
But like it's real. My criticism is real. So I'm like, I do think that with that, I think them on the other side, him and Donovan, have a lot to prove as well. Because
Shaq called him out.
Donovan has been balling, but he's been kind of having some issues with the it's been having some issues as far as the injuries,
right,
as well as playing. Just coming down in the stretch, bro. Like it's they run up against a LeBron and that team. It's like they fold in a sense. And so I'm kind of interested to see what happens with that. So
some would say they kneel before the king, but I'm not going to go that far.
Right.
You know, I'm not one of those.
Don't be that disrespectful.
So I feel you on that, though. I actually like that, you know, and I want to kind of piggyback on that Ben Simmons, or add to that Ben Simmons point. It's like his inability to be a threat in half-court offensive sets is just it's appalling, man. Yeah, it's appalling. And remember, and another think about this: you bring in Doc Rivers now because you said Brett Brown couldn't get it done, but should Brett Brown have been fired? We'll find out, because remember, Brett Brown was playing Ben Simmons at the 4 in the bubble. And when he was playing him at the power forward position, a position that he played at LSU, if people remember, because Antonio Blakeney, his teammate at LSU, was the point guard, right? And so Ben Simmons was able to excel at that power forward position, but he prefers to have the ball in his hands. So you look at, you know, what Coach Brett Brown was doing with Ben Simmons, and everyone's like, "Oh man, they look good in the bubble," because now you have a 4 that can kind of back it out, kind of like Giannis does, you know, and has athleticism to drive on you and slam on you, or he can distribute the ball from the post now. So it's like, what are you going to do? But it had Embiid camped out by the 3-point line. So it's like, do you really want Embiid camped out by the 3-point line? But at the end of the day, like, now Brett Brown's gone and Ben Simmons is back on the perimeter, but no one's afraid of him. So these are going to be things that are going to start to arise, you know, in the playoffs if they don't advance to where they should be going. Like, their floor should be the Eastern Conference Finals, even with Brooklyn, if that's what you're telling by bringing a new coach, you know, all that kind of stuff. And their ceiling would be the NBA Finals. So, yeah, I do agree. They have a lot to prove. You know, you can't always just blame the coaches. That's for sure.
True. I feel that 100%. I do think that, like, I'm interested to see what's going to happen, because the Pacers put a shellacking on the Hornets. And I'm curious to see what happens with the Celtics game. But with that, man, we just jump to the next one, bro.
To the next one.
So it's been some conversation as far as I didn't even see
that tone.
Where it happened, as far as if Kendrick Perkins said this on TV. I just seen the clip, or like the little comment in a meme, you could say, him talking about it's harder to win an NBA championship.
Okay.
Where Calais Campbell came out and said it's harder to win a Super Bowl. Where I think it makes more sense that the Super Bowl. Like, honestly, I do agree. Not just for that fact alone, I'm gonna give my piece and then I'll let you do your thing.
Yeah, sure.
But it's much harder to win a Super Bowl because there's 11 players on the field on offense and defense. Mm-hmm. So it takes a lot more synergy as far as a team in order to, when you have 22 personalities.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, you have one game, and anything can happen. Somebody could get hurt.
Yeah.
Somebody could just, for some reason, be having a bad day, have a case of the dropsies, forget a route. It's so many different factors that go into it when there's just one game. But when you're an NBA, really all it takes is a generational talent, and that'll be the difference between this team versus that team. Like the Hawks. The Hawks were a great team.
Yeah.
But they had nothing for LeBron.
Right.
And it's like, although LeBron did have some really good players around him, it's just at the end of the day, Toronto and the Hawks, like they just had nothing for LeBron. So there's nothing they could do that they were already going into it. And then you even seen it where they were just crushed mentally. You see DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry supposed to be the leader of your team, but they just look demoralized after games. And so I do think that it is much harder because of the impact that one player can have on an NBA game versus at the end of the day, like when you have a best out of 7, it's most likely the better team is going to win.
Oh, yeah. That's how it's set up.
That's really just how it's set up, where in the NFL, like he said, like
single elimination.
It's more than likely the better team is going to lose.
Right.
It just depends on who's playing the best going into that time period and the confidence and the game plan, honestly, styles make fights. So it's like, then you'll see that same team will smack this team and then play the next week and get worked. So it's like Tim Tebow, where everybody talks about Tim Tebow and how bad of a quarterback he was, but he beat the Steelers. Then he played the Patriots, got worked out.
Cooking.
And so I think that it's one of those things that it's anything can happen in that one game. Someone can blow a coverage, someone can have a mental lapse and not run the right route, throw an interception, and then the next thing you know, you go in the other direction with momentum and things like that. So I personally agree with Calais that it is much harder to win a Super Bowl. What is your personal opinion on that?
So my personal opinion on that is Calais Campbell is 100% absolutely correct.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is, kind of echoing some of the sentiments that you had. But first and foremost, in the NBA, you start 5 players, right? You have a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. But you play 7 games. In the NFL, 53-man roster. And we didn't even mention the special teams.
Right.
So you have the 53-man roster plus the special teams. I'm going to give people an example, right? You can play on a near flawless game. Almost near flawless game. You could be Tom Brady minus that one hiccup. Tom Brady and have 505 passing yards, right? Set an NFL record for passing yards ever in a Super Bowl, okay? And you can still lose the game, period. Brandon Cooks got concussed. Like, you know what I'm saying? And injuries happen so frequently in the NFL. Like they say like 3 or 4 injuries happen in the game. Right. They don't have to be season-ending injuries. Players get banged up on every single play.
Right. Sprained ankles, jammed fingers,
exactly.
And stuff like that. Yeah.
And think about this. The best player on the field, right, doesn't have an impact on both sides of the ball in football.
Right.
So Tom Brady is considered the GOAT, right? It's for the majority consensus GOAT. So you put him on offense, there's a long duration where a team can go down 97 yards, the opposing team go 97 yards on the defense, and Tom Brady has no effect for that entire duration. Right. It's not like a back-to-back play like in the NBA, right? Where Michael Jordan, we look at, I always love to use this example. This is why I always tell people the definition of clutch, right? It's not just offensive plays or a game-winning shot. We always remember the shot he took over Byron Russell. But what about the defensive play, the steal on Karl Malone?
I tell people that all the time. Like,
you know what I'm saying?
I talk about that because there's very few players who can
be elite in those moments.
Yeah,
like that.
Because like Kevin Garnett told the story of how he was talking stuff to Mike. And then he was like, bro, you ever felt like you was always on defense? And he was like, the next 4 minutes, I just felt like I was always on defense. And that's the type of talent that Mike had that he possessed, that he could give you 50, but he can also defend you to a point where you were having issues passing the half-court line.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like that ability to take over the game, it's one that made him great, but it's also one of the reasons why one player can have such immense
impact
on the game.
Yeah, and that's the example I like to use in this situation is the fact that Michael Jordan had an immense impact in those waning seconds of the game, that final minute of the game, that ultimately was a catalyst for them winning a championship.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And now you have Karl Malone psychologically messed up. You know what I'm saying? You have the coaches scrambling. You know what I'm saying? So with the NBA, it's a culmination of you have multiple chances to win the championship. You get 7 games. You have to beat a team 4 times, and that means that the better team won.
Right.
Like, period. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's and if it's a super team, they definitely won.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we saw not Michael Jordan, but LeBron James get swept in the NBA Finals. We saw him lose gentlemen's sweep in the NBA Finals versus the Warriors and things of that nature. And you talk about generational talents. Yeah, like there's sometimes you just can't beat somebody. Another prime example, Anthony Davis. Yes, LeBron was there, but the entire playoffs, I know, like, you know, we kind of view the game, you know, in similar lenses. Anthony Davis, there was no denying that he was the best player through the Western Conference that playoffs because it was the mismatch.
Right.
It's all about mismatches.
You know what I'm saying? At this point, it's not that LeBron is like,
they said play through AD.
You can stop him or like just straight up neutralize him, but
Father Time's undefeated.
Yeah, Father Time is undefeated, and that it is a certain point where he's less effective. So he's not a definitive mismatch.
Right.
When whoever is guarding him. So, but AD is definitely, no matter who is on the court, is most likely 9 times out of 10 it's going to be a mismatch.
Yeah, AD and KD, I would say, are the 2 players in the league right now where it's like, okay, it's like give up, and maybe Luca, low key, depending.
It just depends, because I do think that there are certain people that you can throw at him.
Yeah, like Ben Simmons, we'll talk about later. But
right.
Yeah,
because
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah,
I do think that's but like I
agree.
It's right. It's we both agree, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on this topic, but I do think that it is one of those things that the Kendrick Perkins is tripping for. And one thing I never liked is when people are so like, there's no way the other answer is correct.
Oh, yeah.
And we got to stop doing that, because for you to be like, there's no question about it, like, you're wilding.
Well, I always say this, and this is something that, you know, our viewers should always take with them, right? Anything in life can truly be argued for or against. It's just all about how strong the argument is. That's why people have these GOAT debates in sports and all that kind of stuff. I say anything in life can be argued for or against. But if you're going to come out here and tell me that Pablo Prigioni is the GOAT, maybe of like, I don't know, EuroLeague sports or something like that. Right. And I'm just joking with that. But it's like, but there's no way, because the argument's not strong enough. That's all.
Right. So
all right.
With that, we gonna
keep it moving. All right.
At this point, we're gonna talk about the Hall of Fame, bro. Man. There's a lot of good storylines from that one. Some sad ones. Some things I didn't know. I didn't know Rudy Tomjanovich was part of that. Was part of the class.
Yeah.
That was
he was inducting, right? Wasn't he inducting Calvin Murphy? Not Calvin. Or was that wrong?
No, it was the other way around.
Okay. Just
because Calvin Murphy went in the Hall of Fame in '94.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Like,
anyway. But it's the I didn't know that he was that nice of
a coach,
hooper.
Oh, okay.
Like I knew he was nice when it came to coaching. Like I knew that was my era, actually.
Right. I was like, man,
I was old enough to see Jordan win the last 3, so I was able to see. I was old enough to see.
Lucky. I saw Wizards Jordan,
which I still think that I never liked how people treated him, as far as like they acted like he was just a straight scrub.
You know, fun fact, and not to go too off the rails off the topic, should I say? But he was actually second in MVP voting behind Duncan at one point before his dumb teammate ran into his knee.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, he was killing it low key.
Yeah,
nice 20 points a game. Then the knee issue happened and arthritis. But yeah, so kids look that up.
Yeah, so like with that, it made me think, like, what's the most intriguing storyline for you?
Okay, so the most man, it has for me. It has to be my guy Kobe.
Yeah,
it has to be my Kobe, because I think that was kind of like that. I don't want to say the elephant in the room, but it was like a lot of people were looking. Should I say? It was a topic. It was a potent topic, in a powerful moment.
Right.
So it's something that we are kind of looking forward to. You know, I know for me, it was the one person I wanted to see. But first of all, I want to say Tim Duncan, KG, and Kobe, that was like my childhood, bro.
True.
So I watched their entire careers pretty much for the most part. So for me, just seeing those guys go in was amazing. But Vanessa, because I'm just gonna say it. It's and I'll talk to my friends about this. It's when you're talking about being a widow, you don't always get a chance to say, you know, everything that you want to say to you know, someone that, you know, passed away.
Right.
And so I felt like that speech was a chance for her to, you know, have some closure and to really say how she truly felt and say some things to cope.
Right.
And so just not to turn it to, you know, gloomy, the topic. But yeah, so I was, you know, I was saddened, but I was also happy for her to finally be able to get that off her chest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, you know, she said things that I thought Kobe would say, you know, and just him, you know, kind of like viewing it and thinking about what it would be like, and also to see Michael Jordan be there as well.
Right.
And the relationship that him and Kobe Bryant had, and they developed over the years. Someone kind of in my image, someone who wanted to shoot for the same standard of excellence that I had. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was the Kobe Bryant one was I guess you could say the most polarizing and the one that I was looking forward to and powerful, because it's something that I'm always going to remember. And you're talking about a guy who is the only player in NBA history to have 2 jerseys retired.
Right. And
I feel like he was the last of the Mohicans in terms of the competitive era of, you know, hey, I'm going to play all 82 games. It's my job. Unless I can't walk, I'm going to play all 82 games. I understand, like, now players like, extending their careers, but some players sit out for no reason, like some of the stupidest reasons, or they fake certain things. I'm just being real. So like Kobe was the last of the Mohicans. He made no excuses at all. You know, like he just didn't make excuses. I'll never forget the great Tim Duncan, who was also inducted in the Hall of Fame, when they lost to the Spurs, Kobe and Shaq, in 2003 in 6 games. Kobe was like crying after the game, and Jim Gray's like, what are you going to do, in the offseason to get back to the championship? And he paused and he said, push myself to exhaustion. You know what I'm saying? And that was just Kobe. Like, you always, like, he was a guy that I could be like in elementary school, middle school, and you just felt like he was just out there in some gym putting up shots.
Right.
Like, and I don't say that like to like fabricate some like crazy story. Like, that's what a lot of millennials felt like. Kobe was out there putting up shots somewhere. You know, it's like this dude doesn't do anything but stay in the lab, you know, crafting his game. So for me, it's my guy, you know what I'm saying? And also I'm gonna say the Tamika Catchings. I thought that was really, really cool for her to be able to excel and do what she was doing. I didn't know that she had was it a hearing impediment or a speech impediment? Both. Both. So that was something I did not know, right? Yeah. So I learned something new. And for her to be able to, overcome those things or, work with those things and be a professional athlete was amazing. I think her story is amazing. I think that her as an individual basketball player is amazing as well. So those are the two stories for me and inductees for me that was really, like, I guess you could say like great. And also seeing KG, because KG was like my favorite power forward. I always liked him more than Duncan due to his versatility. Right. And then Tim Duncan, because he was like that silent, cold killer. Yeah. And I always say that when he stared at you, when he just had that wide-eye eyeball look, I'm like, no, that's the scariest thing, man. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm definitely let you cook on that, man. What about you, man? What about you?
Actually, for me, man, the latter of the second person you brought up, Tamika, man, yeah. Like the I always kind of recognized her because she played in Indiana.
Yep. I
always used to kind of pay attention. To her and what she was doing and the things that she was able to do once she played for the great Pat Summitt.
Yes, rest in peace. Yeah.
She was from Illinois, or at least went to high school in Illinois. So then when I started paying attention to like female college basketball, she was one of the first people that I ever like really got to watch.
Okay,
like that. So like I've seen her, and it's crazy because I was just explaining this to my dad. just like a 10-year gap between when she tore her ACL versus when Cheryl Miller tore her ACL. And it's crazy to think like how the advancement in technology and modern medicine to the point where she was able to have, like, she won a championship in 2012, MVP the year before, finals MVP when she won the championship, 5-time defensive player, 2 times she did it back-to-back, Olympic gold medals in 2004, 2008, 12, and 16, and rookie of the year. She also had a quadruple-double.
Yeah.
Which is like one of those things that's like, right now Russ is the king of triple-doubles, but like her and David Robinson are the only 2 people I've seen that I can remember in my lifetime that have had a quadruple-double.
And for those there might be some people out there
that
there
might be some people that I don't know.
So it's pretty much points, rebounds, assists, and blocks. Yeah,
right.
Or
steals.
Yeah,
but I don't
steals.
remember what hers was.
Yeah.
I know David Robinson's, his was points, assists, rebounds, and blocks.
Yeah, and
I think hers was steals.
Tim Duncan got robbed of one in the 03 NBA Finals. He literally had one, but they robbed him of it.
That's crazy.
So yeah,
that's crazy.
And he's in the Hall of Fame.
And that goes on to his greatness.
Yeah,
he did that in the finals.
Yeah, he beat the crap out of Kenyon Martin. But anyway. Ooh, Duncan was so cold.
He was, bro.
But yeah,
but for me,
Tamika,
I definitely KG was another person because he played.
Because that was your boy, right?
Yeah, he played his senior year in Chicago, and so like I always followed his career, and I always said that he was, up until AD, there was very few people that had the versatility that he has,
right?
And he possessed, and so I was happy to see him, especially with the fire that he had, the trash talk that he would do. Sometimes he would cross the line, but it was just like he just had a certain veracity that you just couldn't help but respect.
Yeah.
The commercials, I remember he was one of the first people I see get one of those large
contracts.
Like he got like a 250.
Yep, he paved the way for the large contracts for players. He paved the way, and he was also he was a gold standard for when everybody wanted that versatile forward big that could defend multiple positions. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and Ben Wallace. If you want to talk about Hall of Fame, we could probably. I don't know if you got a chance to see.
Yeah, the next
crop, but I know Ben Wallace is on there.
Is this year?
Yeah, right. Yeah. But they didn't have the speeches. I don't. Yeah.
I think they did it, but like I think normally the Hall of Fame is announced in June.
Right.
So I do think, or around this time, and then they do the inductees and they do the ceremony in June. But I think because of one Kobe passing as well as COVID, they decided not to do it last year, and so that's why they just had it over the past couple weekends. Yeah,
because I brought it up because I know that 2 guys in particular, you're having Chris Webber, C-Web, right? It's because there's been a lot of controversy over that. And then you have Ben Wallace, a personal favorite of mine. And I just wanted to kind of, give those guys their roses first and foremost. Chris Webber is one of the most skilled point guards. When you look at some of the teams that he played on, the Sacramento Kings, the Washington Bullets at that time, these teams were, impoverished franchises, devoid of prosperity, and he was taking them to the playoffs. And and when you look at Chris Webber, right, when he was in that Bulls series, I believe that the Bulls didn't win any of those games by more than 7 points. Right. So it's not like they were blowing them out. Like Jordan was just averaging 45 and 10. You know what I'm saying? Right. Chris Webber was putting in work. So, and you saw what he did with the Sacramento Kings, and there's people who still believe that the series was rigged, So, you have that there. But, and then Ben Wallace, for me, I always tell all my friends, family, fans, Ben Wallace is a true testament, and you can use this in any level of work, right? He's a true testament of what hard work and dedication will get you. He went undrafted, went to an HBCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, right? Went undrafted and wound up spearheading the greatest defensive team in NBA history, the 2004 Pistons, that ended the dynasty, my Shaq and Kobe Lakers, right?
Right.
And they went 7 games with the Spurs in 2005. So back-to-back years. So he almost won back-to-back titles. And he tied to Kembe Mutombo with 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, which is the most all time. So when you look at Ben Wallace being undersized, being like 6'8", 6'9", playing the center position going up against Shaq. And Shaq said I respected Ben Wallace because he's the only player that would defend me straight up, which is true.
Right.
Shaq would get off, but he wasn't averaging no 35 and 6,
right.
17.
He wouldn't put up 40 and 20.
Right. He wasn't Todd McCullough.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Todd McCullough used to get baked, bro.
Right, baked. Like Shaq said, those finals were boring, but against Ben Wallace, it wasn't like that. So Facts. I just kind of, you can tell guys I like Ben Wallace despite the fact that they gentlemen swept the Lakers. But Ben, the Fro, they called him the Fro. Like, come on, man, that was a rough rider. That was a real one. And I just feel like, I was hoping that he would get in because I felt like he was being penalized for the malice in the palace. When that was the situation, not going too deep, but, his grandmother having, passed away and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, look, man, or his mother, one or the other, but I don't want to, get that information wrong. But Ben Wallace was a real rough rider, and C-Webb was a amazing talent. So shout out to those two. Were there anything that you wanted to say about those guys or any of the other potential inductees that we saw for the 2020 list, if you have it up there?
Well, I actually have the list right here.
All right, perfect.
So,
Chris Bosh.
Yeah. So some of the people that went in, Paul Pierce.
The truth. The truth.
Chris Bosh, Chris Webber. Ben Wallace, Bill Russell actually was inducted as a coach.
I'm about to say he should have been inducted in all.
Right. Yolanda Griffith, actually Villanova head coach Jay Wright.
Okay.
Former 3-time WNBA MVP Lauren Jackson.
Oh wow, I haven't heard that name in a minute. Yeah.
And then Tony Ku coach. So this part right here, distinguished committees focused on preserving all areas from the game, also selected 7 directly elected enshrinees. So Val Ackerman, Cotton Fitzsimmons, Howard Garfinkel from the contributor community, Fats Jenkins from Early African American Pioneers Committee, Tony Kukoc from the International Committee, Bob Dandridge from the Veterans Committee, and Pearl Moore from the Women's Veterans Committee. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody else. And then Paul Pierce is some of these enshrinees are
questionable. You saying?
No, not questionable, but making me feel like I'm getting old, bro.
Oh yeah,
because Chris Bosh, Paul Pierce, Chris Webber, Duncan, Kobe, Garnett, Tamika Catchings. I remember Lauren Jackson. And it's wild because it's like some of our era they're getting their just due,
right?
And so that's the part that's it's happy to see that. You can say what you want about Paul Pierce. He's one of the greatest Celtics of all time. He's not the greatest, but he is one of the greatest.
One of the greatest.
And like that what he was able to do for his career. Follow the dude on social media. He's a clown and he is super funny, bro. Like when I say funny. Clown, no disrespect. I mean that in a good way. Like he keeps me cracking up.
Right. We're not saying like a media clown. We're just saying like just funny.
Chris Bosh.
Yeah.
You can say what you want about Chris Bosh, but he was 20-10 before he got to the Heat.
Yep. All-star.
He all-star every year. People forget that he was part of that team that gave up the 81.
Yeah. But versatile. He could play defense.
Yeah,
he was clutch in the NBA Finals, in the playoffs many a time.
And he sacrificed. He sacrificed in order for the betterment of the team because he could have easily came in, especially once Dwayne Wade declined. He still had the talent to take you off the dribble, post you up, hit the three, hit the mid range, go to the post, and so with that, like. I'm happy he's getting his because his career was cut short because of the blood clots.
So
it is good. I am happy to see that he got in. And shout out to all of the inductees this year.
Congratulations, guys.
With the rest of the show, we're going to take some time to talk about most improved player, defensive player, rookie of the year, all defense, all rookie, and the all NBA team. Right now, we're going to start off with the all NBA.
All NBA.
I will go first.
All right.
So with my team, I got it wrote down in my notes.
All right.
Gotta go to the notes. All right. So first team. Steph.
Okay.
Dame.
Okay.
My 2 guards, because you get 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center position. So Jokic. at the 5. My two forwards, Julius Randle, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
All right.
And like the seasons that all of them have had, this one was hard. It was a hard thing to try to rank these people because they've all had seasons in their own right. COVID, like Kyrie, 50, 40, 90, Jordan 50, 40, 90 club. Kawhi almost joined that.
Right.
And so it's like it's hard to sit there and try to say who had a better year than this person. Julius Randle, I was able to give him his because of people are only acknowledging for what he did this year.
All right.
But if you go last year, the year before that, he's averaged about 20 and 10 over the last 3 seasons.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so to take that up to
24 and 10,
right,
and like 6 assists or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's doing his thing. So it's hard to keep him off the team just because he played for a team that nobody saw coming.
Right.
Let's give him his just due. Giannis, what is two-way player, has his issues with shooting, but the other sides of his game are so impactful that it's hard to keep him off that list.
Yeah.
Jokic, for what he did ever since Jamal Murray went down, he's almost averaged a triple-double.
Yeah.
And even for the season, he was like 2 assists away from a triple-double. And that's from your center. Steph, scoring title.
Oh, yeah.
And then what else can I say about Dame?
Yeah. Dame from the game.
Right.
Dame from the game.
It's Dame time. Dame Dollar.
Dame time.
Did it? He did his thing, lead his team to actually ended up beating the Lakers out so they don't have to play in the play-in game.
Right.
So shout out to him. The magnificent season he had. And I'll let you rock.
All right. So for mine, first team, right? Mine is actually similar to yours, except that I have you had Dame instead of Luca, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I had Steph Curry, right? So Steph Curry, he's the NBA scoring champion. He was able to will his team into the playoffs, right? This season. Then you have Luca Doncic. And with Luca, I mean, I'm looking at guys who can pretty much do it all. And Luca can do everything. But also with my first team, I decided to create a criteria for my first team. So I'm like, okay, who really performed the best at their position, but also who was available. Right. So I think I have to give award because this is the all NBA and this is the first team and there's contract incentives and tied to this. So I went with Luca at forward. You have Julius Randle because he is a main catalyst for why the New York Knicks, who a lot of people didn't even think would be a playoff team this year. Yeah, they had Coach Thibodeau, and I know Coach Thibodeau's resume and his track record, right? But also people do get injured, when they play underneath Coach Thibodeau. But for a lot of NBA fans and basketball savants out there, it's like no one was expecting the Knicks to do anything, and it kind of reminds me of Chris Paul last year when he joined the Oklahoma City Thunder. Right. Even though you have a future Hall of Famer, what did they say about Chris Paul? They said Chris Paul was done. He was washed. Obviously, Julius Randle's young, but they didn't pick OKC to make the playoffs, let alone be a top 5 seed, having lost 2 former top 10 players in a Russell Westbrook, who was a former league MVP, and Paul George, who finished 3rd in both Defensive Player of the Year and MVP voting. So Julius Randle being able to average 24 and 10, being able to improve his game. When he was with the Lakers, the big thing was if he could get that left hand, as Magic Johnson would say. Right. Well, now he can post up. Now he's doing Kobe fadeaways from the post. You know what I'm saying? So he's a threat from all over the court. He's playing offense and defense. So Julius Randle, definitely have to give him his props, give him his flowers. Then Giannis. So while his overall numbers this season are down, his impact still is amazing. He's still one of the most versatile defenders. And I look at statement games. I look at what he was able to do against Brooklyn, right? And so while James Harden wasn't there, and I do believe that James Harden is ultimately going to be the deciding factor of why the Brooklyn Nets do get past the Bucks, is the fact that he was able to defend KD in the fourth quarter in crucial moments and come up big, right? So his defensive prowess is there. He's defending the best player on the opposing team. Okay. And he was third. This is his 3rd highest career player efficiency rating. And I'm not big on being enamored with stats, but despite it being more of a relative, having a lesser year than last year, his player efficiency rating didn't fall off. Because before it was 30, and then before that was like 33 or something like that. That's even possible. So when you're at like 29.6 or 29 point whatever, you got to give Giannis his props. And he improved as a player. In terms of, or at least what we're seeing in terms of his post game and things of that nature. That's my other forward position. And then Nicole Yokic, who is an MVP candidate. Despite the fact that Jamal Murray went down, Jokic has been consistent. We talked about it on our other show, how you like Jokic. He's been available, and he's just amazing. He can kill you from anywhere on the court. I watched the game against the Clippers, and that's one of their kryptonites is the Denver Nuggets with Jokic. And Paul George said that they asked him about the loss. He's like, it's just Jokic, the Joker, man.
Yeah. Because
Jokic can play make.
Right.
He can pick and pop. He can shoot the three. He can destroy you from inside. Like, the dude is just incredible. And he's, in my opinion, the best passing big man that I have ever seen.
Right.
So that's my all NBA first team. Did you want to run through real quick your second and third teams?
Yeah, I'm gonna do my second and third team.
Okay.
Just for the sake of time.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, how strong Westbrook finished the season.
Yeah.
He might not have had the start that he wanted, where I think the only difference between what I put, who I ended up putting on the third team and why I didn't take them above Russ, just how he finished the season, even with Brad being hurt.
Right.
Getting them from, at one point when we did the last show about the play-in, they were at the 10th spot. Now they're at 8.
Okay.
So it's like and him being a big part of that and how he finished the season. Shout out to Russ.
Triple dub Russ.
On my second team, CP3. What else can I say? Like,
yeah,
consummate leader, professional, clutch. Sets up the team, runs the team to a T. Like, me and my brother were having a conversation about Steph and his ranking within the point guard thing, and we started talking about when you start talking about point guards and playing the point guard position. I get it that Steph has that ability to shoot, so maybe we can have a different conversation as far as a player.
Yeah.
But what you're looking for in a point guard, I would much rather have a CP3 on my team than a Steph. It's just the fact that CP3 is 6 foot. So I would like my point guard to be a little taller. If they could give me what CP3 could give me at 6'3", hey.
Exactly. You have something special right there.
You have something special. So then with that, Kawhi later. Two-way player. Every year he's in the defensive player conversation. 2-time defensive player of the year. 2-time finals MVP. Immediately comes to your team and makes an impact. The season that he had, almost having joined in the 50-40-90 club.
Yeah.
Has some injuries and sits out a lot of games, but
he improved this year.
Yeah. And so then after that, we go Luca.
Okay.
For every reason that you said, really when you go and look at his team, it's like they have really good role players. He just doesn't have a second star. And it's supposed to be KP, but hope he can't stay on the court. And he played a little bit too soft for me to be that big. But it's another conversation for another time.
Yeah.
Joel at the 5 and my number 2. As much, like I said, if Joel played 10 more games, I'd probably still have him over Jokic.
Okay, yeah.
And so my third team, my boy Kyrie, like I said, joining that 50-40-90 club. Bradley Beal coming in second in the scoring title, but I really think a lot of it had to do with his injuries. LeBron, some people might feel the type of way about me having LeBron at third, but like I said,
he was actually third team. It wasn't last year; it was the year before. He made third team. It wasn't all defense. It was actually the all NBA team, right?
Yeah.
So this would be I didn't mean to like kind of interject, but I was thinking about it. I was like, this would be the second time he made third team.
Right. If that happens.
And due to injury, really.
Right. And that's really what it is. Like I probably would have had him at 2.
Right.
Just for the seasons that the others had.
My bad. That's if it happens.
Yeah. If it happens, I probably still would have had him at 2, even if he would have played a full season.
Right.
Just for the season, the way the seasons that Randall and Giannis had, like it's hard for me to put you at anything above third after the seasons that they had, the seasons that Luca and Kawhi had, as well as your team is 7 playing game.
Yeah.
So like, injuries had a lot to do with that. But to be realistic, And then so we got Lebron Pg after the season that he had, carrying them a lot when Kawhi was out with injuries. He finally had a rough start after having a rough playoff. So he looked more like the PG that we're accustomed to seeing. We'll see if he can keep that intensity and keep that his play level at this high level going into the playoffs. And then I know I talk a lot of stuff about him, but can't deny his the effectiveness and how efficient he is. Rudy Gobert.
You mean you don't have the greatest defender of all time, Draymond Green, the self-proclaimed greatest? Tony Allen's like, who stamped you?
You still gotta do something on the offensive end.
Who stamped you?
Right. That's how I feel, honestly.
The great Draymond Green has spoken, but anyway.
But yeah, I'm gonna let you do your thing. But we are on. Okay. We are kind of getting to the close to the end of the time, so we gotta blow through this.
So I'm gonna go through the fast track. So second team, Chris Paul, for the same reasons you mentioned. Then something that I feel like people don't talk about enough was Ben Simmons. If Ben Simmons wins the Defensive Player of the Year, he has to make one of these teams for me, right? I've seen him chase Damian Lillard around. I've seen him pretty much lock up Luca Doncic. I guess I said lock up or frustrate Luca Doncic. So Ben Simmons, and he self-proclaimed himself the Defensive Player of the Year this season before the season was over. So I'm going to go with Ben Simmons. Then the forward spot, it was actually tough because I'm like, these guys were both having good seasons, but they weren't having astounding seasons, but they have really good seasons. One of them being Paul George, who both won, him and Jason Tatum, right? Won Player of the Month of their respective conferences, or Player of the Week, excuse me. Yeah, Player of the Week. Player of the Week for their respective conferences or Player of the Month. I'm so sorry. I think it was Player of the Month. I'm pretty sure it was Player of the Month. And Paul George actually was carrying some of that load with when Kawhi Leonard was out. Remember, he had like 36 versus the Suns. Right. Devin Booker was talking trash to him. So Paul George. But then Kawhi Leonard was somehow, it's consistency for me, right? 50, 40, 90, right? So while Paul George was looking like he was actually playing the better, right? And he probably was. Their statistical output is very similar, with Kawhi being a little more, just a tad bit more efficient. And then Joel Embiid. And then my third team, I have Bradley Beal. Okay. I have to go with Bradley Beal. He was just my second team values a lot of kind of like my first with availability. And then I have Damian Lillard. Jason Tatum, he did have that 60-point game this year, right? And Jaylen Brown went down. Yeah. That's bars. And then we have LeBron James. So I have LeBron James. I got to put the all-time great up there. And then Rudy Gobert. I do not have the self-proclaimed Draymond Green. So I have to go with Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, our teams are very similar, and there's just certain
one twos.
Put this person here, take that person there, type of thing. The only difference is, I don't think. Yeah, you don't have Westbrook.
I don't have Westbrook.
You don't have Westbrook.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to. I feel like there's one more person because you said you had Jason Tatum in there, and I don't. So you don't have Kyrie.
Yeah, I don't have Kyrie, and I wanted to put him in there, but then I was thinking I had him on fantasy team, and he really did miss a couple games.
He was way too
different
games.
reasons.
I get it. I get it. Like it's.
So I was like,
that conversation is a whole other thing. Like I'm tired of people trying to act. Like I just was watching something, and it was Undisputed, and shout out to Undisputed. I like that show, but this time Skip and Shannon weren't on there. It was Rick Bucher, Chris Broussard, LeVar, and
the D list,
the other dude. Yeah, I like Chris. No shade to Chris Broussard.
Broussard's being a little more objective these days.
Yeah. He used to be, but like LeBron,
right? He did
swinging, bro.
It's the Jason McIntyres of the world that I'm like, oh my.
Yeah, facts. But like they're talking about it, they're like, oh well, Kyrie could bust. I'm like, bro, they're friends at the end of the day. They're friends. Right. There's a difference between like when I'm blowing up because some dude I don't know, don't really care for, that happens to be my teammate, is getting shine over me. But when the homie is getting shine, I don't see him as like Like, all right, KD is his boy. DeAndre is his boy. Yeah, James is KD's boy. But if that's the boy's homie, then like, all right, cool, I'm gonna rock with him.
Right.
Like, go on do your thing, bro. Turn up.
Yeah.
And it's like that right there. But not to go too much on the tangent, but that's the one thing that I hate about that whole conversation is that I hate when people start trying to act like come on, bro. Like we see that first season they were not having those ego issues until he got hurt.
Right.
Then after that, he had to come back and expected them to take a lesser role where it's like, bro, we can get to the conference championship without you.
Yeah.
So you should come and fall in line, really. So that's a whole other conversation. We're gonna go to the all defensive team.
Okay.
For me, I got Ben, Drew, Jimmy, Draymond, and Embiid.
Okay.
some people gonna feel a certain type of way, but the reason why I would take Embiid over Gobert is just the ability to guard away from the basket. And I think Gobert is really good at the rim, great in post defense, as well as a help defender. But when you take him away from the basket, i.e. Anthony Davis, or even when he has to switch off on guards, I think that Joel Embiid handles that much better.
Okay.
My second team, Marcus Smart, Thibault, Giannis, Bam, Gobert.
Wait, you had Embiid in the first?
Yeah, I had
the
Embiid
first.
in my first team.
Okay.
My first team defense.
Yeah. So for me, I don't have mine in front of me, but if I was actually going to put together mine, I have to have Ben Simmons because I said he's the defense player of the year.
Yeah.
Then I'm putting Drew Holiday.
He's my defensive player of the year also.
Okay. I'm putting Drew Holiday. We saw what he did against Kyrie, and when we talk about matchups, probably in a later episode, I'm going to go back to that. That Bucks. I feel like the Bucks just match up very well against them. You know what I'm saying?
True.
With that Drew Holiday matchup, so I would have Ben Simmons. I would have Drew Holiday, right? And then I have to go with Kawhi Leonard. I actually saw Kawhi Leonard against Luca this year, and so it's one of these things where once again, and people keep trying to perpetuate this lie where they're like, oh, he's fallen off defensively. No, he really hasn't fallen off defensively. Maybe he gets injured and things of that nature, but when he's locked in, he's doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? And I believe he was third in steals at one point. But anyway, he was like at one point he was third in steals during the season. I'm not quite sure where he's at right now. But not Paul George. Paul George, I feel like he slipped on defense. But Kawhi Leonard right there. Then I have to go with my boy Bam Adebayo. I have to. Just the versatility of Bam right there. So Bam is my guy for that situation. I do like Joel Embiid though. So I'll probably go with Joel Embiid. And then my second team, I'm gonna have to put my guy Jimmy Butler on the second team this year, because I feel like this season with the injuries and things of that nature, the fact that he was starting off slow, I kind of penalized the entire Miami Heat team right there, minus Bam. And then I would go Marcus Smart. I actually thought that Marcus Smart last year should have won Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, but I'm not definitive. And I think I
can see it.
But it's different because remember we go with the bigger guys and everything. And and remember we had talked about like the Clippers Celtic matchup. Yeah. So I have to actually have.
I actually didn't think that Giannis should have won Defensive Player of the Year.
Right. A lot of people thought it should have been Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis.
Right.
Which comes to my surprise. I have AD on my second team.
Oh snap! No Gobert?
No.
What?
No, he's there. But that's my last pick. Okay. But I have AD there because AD, like the dude came back, right? And like defensive plays, like clutch defensive plays. That's the one thing he was actually able to do this season was he was actually playing defense. It was the offense that was struggling.
Right.
Like they weren't like, hey, AD, feed me. I'm gonna feed you the rock. Right. And you're gonna go out and get 40 and 15. You know what I'm saying? But he was giving a defensive effort, and I feel like when I look at that Laker team, right? Because they're a good defensive team, right?
Right.
Like even when LeBron and AD were out, but when AD's there, their defense skyrockets, right? So I'm looking at him, and between Marc Gasol, between Andre Drummond, those guys constantly kept getting just like destroyed. So AD, and then I have Rudy Gobert, the French Eiffel Tower, as we call him. So that's my second team defense.
Yeah, and then with that, I am all rookie team.
All right, the all rookie team. You want to go?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go. So I had hold on, I gotta find it. But I had I know I had LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, and then at that point I gotta go. I gotta look. Let me look at my team. Hold on.
Pull them up. Pull it up. Yeah, but I guess at this time, due to the sake of time, I'll let you guys know that I actually have LaMelo and Anthony Edwards as well on my all rookie team,
and they're also they are my co-rookies of the year too. I actually agree with you. Something you mentioned earlier
about the Jason Kidd, Grant Hill situation.
Yeah. And I can definitely see that happening. I do agree with the fact that LaMelo was so far beyond, bro. Like Anthony Edwards had no chance unless LaMelo gets hurt. So then the fact that LaMelo comes back, I mean, and he hasn't played to the level that he played before he got injured, as well as Gordon Hayward going down with injury.
All right.
So they just don't look as good as a team. But what he was able to do, man, like this season and how he came in, Anthony Edwards came in a little strong. later in the season is maybe had the dunk of the season, honestly.
Right.
But with that, I'm like, yo, you just can't ignore that part of their season. I know I got Saddiq Bey.
Okay.
From Detroit. A lot of good length, good young player, shooter, already coming into the league. And I think that's one of the things I'm actually kind of happy as far as how people that are coming into the league. Because at one point, people came into the league and they just weren't good shooters. They just weren't good shooters at all. And so Emmanuel quickly.
Okay.
And Tyrese Halliburton.
Will
make up my first team rookie team.
Okay.
Jayshawn Tate. Isaiah Stewart.
I had them both in my fantasy team.
Peyton Pritchard.
Okay.
And then I would say Facundo Campazzo.
All right. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, the one that him and Paul George are kind of going at. So for me, actually, I have LaMelo Ball, I have Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton. Isaiah Stewart is actually on my first team because he was a double-double. He was getting double-doubles, and I know he did get dunked on. That was amazing. But the one thing I like about Isaiah Stewart, Ralph, is he's not afraid if he's going to, he can test it, everything. Well, the thing is, he's not just trying to block it, but he's willing to, be a force.
Right.
So I had to have Isaiah Stewart on there. Then I have Jayshawn Tate.
Actually, I'd probably take Campazzo off there and put my boy Pat.
Oh, Pat
Williams.
Pat Williams. Oh,
because he started all season. He was relatively healthy. I seen him play line up against LeBron and didn't look crazy. Yeah. It didn't look like, boy, why is he guarding him?
Right.
So I'm actually kind of proud of him in the season that he had. So I'm gonna throw him on the second team just because I want to show him some love. I don't want anybody to think like, oh, man, we drafted him at this. Why isn't he?
Right.
You don't like it like that. Show him some love, Pat.
I feel you.
Pat with the patch.
So then I have Peyton Pritchard on my second team. He was a source of bench scoring for the Boston Celtics and desperate need of some bench scoring. I actually on the House of Hoops on Instagram, I did a post on Peyton Pritchard about him possibly being a life force on the bench. After he had that 28-point game early in the season. So Peyton Pritchard is my second team. Then I have Campazzo. He came on late, but anytime you're talking about somebody who's taking on the role of a Jamal Murray, is he a shot creator? No. Is he a good three-point shooter? Heck no. But one thing that he does is he gets points, he gets steals, and so he's kind of like one of those kind of gadget pieces, you know. And
he's a glue guy.
Right, he's a glue guy. He's about to get burned in the playoffs. Then I have Saddiq Bey, also another guy that I picked up on my fantasy team, but that's not why I have him there. This dude was out there and he could get you 20 points off threes. He didn't need to do anything else. So I definitely had to have my boy Saddiq Bey on there. Then Xavier Tillman as well to round it out. So yeah. That is my all NBA second team for rookies.
So pretty much we've agreed on defensive player. Mm-hmm. We already talked about MVP.
Yeah.
Rookie of the year. Did you agree with what I said?
Was what I said, the co-rookies, like the Jason Kidd, Grant Hill. I think it's due to the fact of, the availability of Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
And then, we know what LaMelo Ball did. He was coming off the bench though.
Right.
And he was just amazing coming off the bench and being able to elevate his team and just go around. Away. Yeah.
And so last but not least, most improved player. So if you had to pick someone, who are you rocking with?
So I'm gonna give you 3 quick candidates, but I'm not gonna go too much in depth. But 3 candidates, right? Michael Porter Jr.
Okay.
Surprise candidate, right? Giannis. Surprise candidate, because I'm going to give you the definition, right? A lot of people look at, or at least my definition, right? A lot of people look at stats. They get enamored by stats.
Right.
I look at what's the one skill that you're supposed to work on, and every NBA player works to get better in the summer. It's scoring.
Right.
They don't work to pass a ball against a wall or bounce passes.
Right.
It's scoring. But Giannis, he's improved in the area.
Right.
But is it enough to, be most improved player? And
right.
Another candidate would be Julius Randle, but then Lonzo Ball. Because Lonzo Ball came in and I felt like it was always about confidence with him.
Right.
He saw what his brother was doing, and so now his 3-point right. He
show y'all.
Exactly. His points that went up, his points per game went up, and his 3-point shooting, and he's actually taking more attempts. He raised from I think like 3 to 6 last year to now 8.
Right.
So he's being more efficient from the 3-point line. So my top 2 are actually Lonzo and Michael Porter Jr., and I'm going Michael Porter Jr. This dude, man, the confidence level that Michael Porter Jr. has,
Right.
and the number of teams that pass on him due to medical reasons, right? And fair enough, I felt that him and Bol Bol would be the steals of the draft. Now, obviously, Bol Bol doesn't get enough burn. Michael Porter Jr. Wasn't getting as many minutes last year. He averaged 9 points a game. Now he's averaging almost 20 points per game this season.
Right.
And the reason why he is my official most improved player of the year is due to the fact that you lose Jamal Murray, and he is a strong piece along with Jokic for the reason why the Denver Nuggets are winning. And we're going to find out in the playoffs why he's going to help them stay afloat. But they're going to get eliminated.
Right.
But somebody has to score on that team, and it's going to be Michael Porter Jr. and Jokic.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching, man. Had a rough day
With the technicals, but
a lot of technical difficulties. We getting better every time.
Yes.
At least we know the show. We got good audio for the show, so the show will be straight. We just got to figure out what's going on as far as why his microphone is tripping when it comes to the live feed. But we changed the name of the show. Like I mentioned before, on one of the mess ups, we were having some issues trying to find a female co-host, so changed it to Juke Boys Sports Show. We're still here at Fitboxer Studio. Thank you all for watching. Catch us on Facebook, on our Facebook page, the He Say, She Say channel, where you'll be able to catch the sports show as well as my other podcast as well. On YouTube, the same name, He Say, She Say channel. Thank you all for watching. Peace.
Peace.